Hello guys, this is Real Recaps. In this video, I will talk about a 2024 American survival horror thriller film, Never Let Go. Before we start, I hope you will like and subscribe to the channel. In the dense forest, twin brothers Samuel and Nolan live with their mother and their dog, Coda. Their mother, whom they call Mama, has convinced them that a dark force called the Evil has overtaken the world, ending civilization and forcing them to hide in their secluded house. Protective runes are carved into the wood around their home, and the family prays daily to ward off the evil, which, according to Mama, has the power to manipulate and control them if it makes contact. While only Mama can see this evil, the boys fully believe in its presence. One night, Mama dreams of a moving, screaming skeleton deep in the forest, and she wakes up startled. After a brief prayer, she steps outside and hears a growling sound. Her late father appears near the stairs and tries to reach for her, but she chooses to ignore it and heads back indoors. In the morning, she wakes her boys to begin their day. Samuel starts with push-ups, while it's revealed that Nolan wears a bell tied around his ankle. Over breakfast, Nolan shares some of his food with Coda despite Samuel's disapproval. Soon after, they prepare to go foraging, tying a long rope around everyone and blessing it with a prayer for protection against the evil. The rope, anchored to the house, is seen as their lifeline, and Mama reminds the boys to never let go. Coda leaves, searching for rabbits, while the family separates to search for food. During the search, Mama repeatedly sees the evil taking the form of her deceased father, who keeps whispering for her to let them go. Ignoring this, she hangs a photo of her parents on a tree. Samuel successfully catches a squirrel with his slingshot and eats a frog, while Nolan climbs a tree to inspect a bird's nest. Finding no eggs, he spots one on the ground and, eager for better food, begins to untie his rope to reach it until Samuel warns him that the egg might be an evil trap. As they head back, tensions rise between the brothers when Nolan thinks Samuel muttered, "She loves me more," though Samuel denies it. Upset, Nolan steps on Samuel's rope, causing it to loosen. Samuel falls, hurting his ankle, and Nolan blows his whistle for help as something rustles nearby. Seeing Samuel's injury, Nolan unties his rope to help his twin. At that moment, Mama hears the whistle and rushes toward them, eventually removing her own rope. She sees the evil, now disguised as her mother, following her. Just in time, Mama reaches the boys and reattaches Nolan's rope to all three of them, protecting them from the evil's approach. Back at the house, Coda awaits their return. Nervous, Mama insists the boys touch the blessed wood and repeat their prayer, which reassures her they haven't been tainted by the evil. After scolding them over the ropes, she tends to Samuel's ankle. Later, she tells the boys a cautionary tale about the evil once appearing as a young girl needing help. Ignoring the cries was agonizing, but when she finally investigated, she found a corpse. The story serves as a lesson for the boys to never release the rope, even in emergencies. That night, Mama places the boys in the cellar as part of their routine to purify their souls. Each boy spends an hour there and must later recount any nightmares to the family. Later, Nolan, feeling suspicious about the rope incident, wonders aloud if their mother would harm them if the evil ever touched them, recalling that their father and grandparents had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Samuel dismisses these dark thoughts, expressing trust in their mother. Outside, Mama sees a vision of her late husband for the first time. He tries to persuade her to let him see the boys, claiming she has no plan for their future. She resists but hesitates when he suggests they're all on the brink of starvation. Food scarcity worsens due to a harsh winter that killed off most plants and scared away animals. Nolan asks Mama if she's sure there are no other survivors, but she insists that their isolated house is their only world now. The family soon has to ration their remaining food. One evening, as Mama bathes, she notices Nolan standing nearby in a sleepwalking state. She guides him back to bed and reattaches his bell, puzzled at how it came off. The next day, Mama ventures into the forest alone to hunt, but instead sees a bird picking at what appears to be Nolan's rotting corpse. She manages to remind herself that it's just an illusion created by the evil. The vision causes her to miss her shot at the bird, leaving her to gather bark for their next meal. During dinner, she keeps seeing her husband's image through the window, reminding her of her lack of a clear plan. Later, while the family collects sap in the woods, Nolan feels something tugging on his rope. He's dragged through the forest to a well, where he sees a snake-like creature pulling on the rope before waking up, realizing it was a nightmare he had while sleepwalking. Furious, Mama finds him and makes him recite the prayer while touching the blessed wood. She then punishes him by locking him in the cellar until he claims the darkness has left him. Once released, Nolan suggests to Samuel that they should escape the house together, confident that if they work as a team, they can outpace the evil and perhaps return for Mama later with food. Nolan starts doubting that Mama knows what's best for them, but Samuel refuses to question her. In her room, Mama overhears fragments of their conversation and experiences visions of herself becoming feral. The next day, Mama brings out an old Polaroid camera, explaining to the kids how it works and showing them family photos. With only one picture left, she mentions saving it for a special moment. She then announces that, to survive, they need to eat Coda, as he's aging and they can no longer afford to feed a dog while they're struggling for food. Nolan is horrified and protests, saying that killing family is the true evil. To be fair, Mama asks Samuel to vote, and he reluctantly agrees to eat Coda. Heartbroken, Nolan rushes outside to protect Coda, but Mama takes the dog from him, drags him to the greenhouse, and tearfully thanks him before preparing to shoot him with her crossbow. She hesitates, however, when Nolan sneaks up behind her, declaring that it isn't real and cutting her rope. He then locks the greenhouse, forcing her to confront the truth. Mama panics and begins smashing the windows just as Samuel arrives and tackles his brother in an attempt to stop him. As the boys fight outside, the evil appears to Mama, taking her mother's form and scolding her for her past mistakes. It threatens her, saying she'll be forced to eat her babies. Overwhelmed, Mama picks up a shard of glass and ends her life in front of her children. Samuel wins the fight, hurries into the greenhouse, and ties her rope to her body, praying desperately, but to no effect. Distraught, Nolan ties her rope to himself and returns to the house, putting on an old record to process his grief. Samuel spends the night clutching Mama's body. Days later, Nolan searches for Coda but finds the dog too afraid to come close, choosing instead to stay in the forest. Samuel, now weakened by hunger, stays in their mother's room. Nolan makes him tea, and Samuel claims he saw Nolan in the woods, laughing at him for failing to save Mama. Nolan insists it was just a dream but agrees to touch the blessed wood and say the prayer to reassure him. Hoping to save his brother, Nolan takes the rope and ventures into the woods. With all the rope to himself, he eventually reaches a road. Amazed, he calls for help, but no one answers. Later, he's approached by a man named Cole, who says he heard Nolan's cries while hiking and offers food. He's about to offer Nolan a ride in his truck when Samuel, mistaking Cole for the evil, emerges and threatens him with a crossbow. Cole insists he means no harm but flees when Samuel shoots him, and Nolan follows Cole's blood trail into the forest, ignoring Samuel's warnings that it's a trap. Nolan finds Cole calling 911 before he succumbs to his injuries. Nolan takes Cole's bag back to the house, where he discovers cans of food and eats until full. He offers some to Samuel, who refuses, convinced it's a trick. But hunger finally drives Samuel to eat from the bag in the middle of the night. He finds a photo of Cole and his daughter in the bag and a flashlight, which he takes outside to play with. Suddenly, Samuel hears a noise coming from the greenhouse and sees movement inside. Shocked, he opens the door and briefly sees Mama standing before the smell of decay overtakes him. A voice behind him reveals Cole's daughter, asking about her father. Samuel pretends to know nothing, but she recognizes the flashlight, causing Samuel to apologize. which frightens her. She flees into the forest, and Samuel chases her until his rope tangles in the trees. He realizes she's real, so he removes the rope to continue searching. But when he finds her again, she has multiple arms and climbs a tree, revealing herself as the evil. She reappears behind him with an elongated tongue, which touches Samuel's hand and crawls up his sleeve, entering his mouth. Nolan wakes up and notices Samuel is gone. He rushes outside, finding his brother's rope empty. He hears Samuel calling and follows, only for Samuel to cut his rope. Cole's truck suddenly shines its headlights, and Nolan sees the evil wearing Samuel's face. Terrified, he runs back to the house, where he finds Samuel in Mama's room, unresponsive as black goo seeps from the ceiling. Nolan tries praying while holding Samuel's hand, but this triggers Samuel's violent response. Samuel attacks Nolan with a knife, forcing Nolan to escape and lock him inside. Samuel blocks the door with the bed, turns on the record player, and sets the room on fire using the fireplace. He then steps outside to watch the house burn. Inside, Nolan covers his face with a wet rag to withstand the smoke and escapes through a window. He nearly slips off the roof but decides to re-enter through another window. Behind a curtain, he sees Mama calling to him but refuses to believe she's real. Outside, Samuel uses the camera to take a photo of himself with the burning house in the background. Nolan escapes his mother and opens the cellar door. As the creature approaches, he remembers all the ways Mama protected them, channeling that love as he hugs the creature, which reveals its true snake-like form. It struggles against his embrace until Nolan's love causes it to explode. Sometime later, paramedics arrive and take the boys away by helicopter. As they fly toward a town, Nolan tells Samuel that they're finally free, but Samuel mutters, "She loves me more." Back in the house, the last photo reveals a hand on Samuel's shoulder. The end. Thanks for watching.